Thank you. Nancy, you play a big guitar. And I hope you guys all noticed that Katrina was dressed for golf today. She had her knickers on, okay? And so we appreciate that. It's so bad. Now, just to let you know, I'm ready. This is my last golf game of the month here in this sanctuary, okay? So those who are ready for it to be over, you can applaud. It's okay, all right? Thank you. But you got to wait a few more minutes, all right? And so I have new golf balls. I have putting green, divot, fixer, upper. That's when you put a hole in the green when the ball hits and it rolls over. I have a way to place my ball so that I can get ready to putt it. And as you'll notice, I have the right color tees with me, okay? These are very important things for golf. You've got to be dressed, you've got to be ready to play the game. Now, let's just talk about how many people here have played golf? All right. How many have never been on a golf course? How many never want to go on a golf course? Okay. So anyway, and the other thing that I have is my golf glove. That's very important so I don't get blisters on my left hand as I play. And when I play golf, I have to do a couple things. I have to put this on good and tight and get it secure, and then I have to prepare myself with a grip. But before I do all that, I have to understand a little bit about golf. For example, for those who don't know golf, a tee. This is a tee here. That's what I was talking about. That little thing there's a tee, you put a golf ball on top of it, right? And then after that, you go to the tee box. And that's usually raised up a little bit, and it's the first place you go when you get ready to hit the golf ball down the fairway, hopefully. Okay? And the fairway, as you look out, can run anywhere from 150 yards to 600 yards, which is a long ways. And so what you want to do is hopefully stay in the fairway with each and every shot. That's the objective. And it's kind of difficult to do because if you watch the pro golfers, the best of them, like Roy McIlroy, oh, I've forgotten his name. But anyway, Roy, the other day, he could not hit a fairway. This is a guy who practices and practices and practices. His swing just wasn't there that day. And so we're going to talk about a few of these things. And how does that compare to life? Because once you get on the fairway, the objective is to get on the green. Now, the green is that really slick-cut area, usually surrounded by what they call sand traps. And that's where you do the putting. That's where you try to get the ball in the hole, which is the whole objective of the game. And to get it in the hole with the fewest strokes possible is the main objective. And so with the putter and with the driver, the two things they have consistent is you have to have right alignment. So if you align in the wrong way, you're not going to hit the fairway. And you know, it's really interesting that that's easy to do because the tee boxes, many times, the fairway's going this way and the tee box looks like this or like this. And so if you line up with the tee box, you're going to hit the ball out of bounds. So you have to be alert to those kind of things. And as we play the game of golf, I always have felt, as you know, that it's much like the game of life. That there are similarities. And for me, it's very true. Now, I used to, and because of you guys, I don't have time anymore. But anyway, I used to go out on my own and play golf probably twice a week and walk 9 holes or play whatever. Because I just loved it. When I lived in Kings Mill many years ago, I'd go out and the deer would be out there and, you know, it'd be a nice fresh morning or a nice evening and it would just be gorgeous. And I loved it and I felt one with nature many times. I don't think I would say that then that way, but that's what I felt. I felt like the spirit within me was alive and doing well. And so I really do love the game, still love the game. Don't play it very well any longer, but I have fun, okay? Most days. and most shots. At least I hope so. So I'm enjoying this game. So how does this compare to this game of life? How do we look at golf, and what do they have in similar? And so the first thing I want you to look at is the idea that, number one, we must focus our minds. And when we focus our minds, we are able to manage our thoughts. Now, is managing your thought a very big deal in unity concepts? Certainly it is. It's probably the key thing that we look to do, because when we can manage our thoughts, we can manage our life. Now, in golf, one of the things that happens is that it is a mental game. And the way you know that is, again, because of the pros. That's the one thing they show us, because they don't hit every ball properly. They don't make every putt they ought to make. But they do extremely well in the mental process of the game. So they get themselves mentally ready before they ever walk on the golf course. And what we have to do is get ourselves mentally ready before we encounter any situation. And we have ways that we do that as individuals. To get yourself mentally ready on the golf course, what you do is, what I do anyway, is try to get up fairly early in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and get ready to play golf, okay? But no, I get up early, and I spend my time in meditation, not about the golf game, maybe like I normally meditate, and I spend my time reading a little bit, so I get that half an hour, 45 minutes done. That's before I play golf, because that puts me in alignment with myself. Now, the other thing I used to do that I don't do now as well as I should, I don't do it at all, as a matter of fact, hardly, and that is to imagine my game hole by hole for 18 holes before I'd go out to the golf course. I used to sit and contemplate and say, what is the first, I knew the course, what's my first shot going to look like? Where am I going to put the ball? How am I going to get on the green? So I took it fairly seriously. That's what pros do. They, before they walk out on the course, imagine the whole thing. And we'll talk about imagination in a few minutes. And so we prepare ourselves for this game. And as I prepare myself for that game, I'm preparing myself also for managing my thoughts. I'm learning how to do that, and that's so important in life. Napoleon Hill. I've gone back recently, and I'm writing some things, and I'm using some of the masters I think of who I learned from, and one was Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich. It is a great book. It's still a great book. It's the number 2 seller in all New Thought types of books still today, okay, where you're trying to manage your mind and manage your life. He said, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Whatever the mind of man, woman, can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Now, if we don't believe that, either we are just dreaming or we are not taking advantage of the power that's within us, the power of transforming our lives, changing our lives, and being in a place where we know that what we think about, what we focus on, will actually come to be. Now, I'm going to, because it just happened, brag about Vicki a little bit, okay? One of the things, as I said earlier, the doctor said, boy, you are doing amazing. He said, actually, you're about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of where you ought to be. And I think that's because Vicki believes that whatever she thinks about, she can achieve. So as she focuses on her health, her wholeness, that every bone in her body is perfect the way it is, and that's what she's doing, it's healing quicker than they ever expected. And so when we really believe that whatever we conceive we can bring into being, we become more careful about what we think about. Because anything you believe and focus on will take place in your life. And you know what? Sometimes that's not comfortable, because I've been focusing on the wrong thing. And so what we need to learn to do is to dream, but dream with results in mind. And as I move from the focusing of the mind and managing my thoughts in life, I then get to the next part of golf. Forget the last shot, unless it was a great shot. So mostly I forget my last shot, okay? And the reason you do that, even if it's a great shot, you forget it because the next shot will be different. And what they say is play it as it lies. Means the ball's lying there, play it as it lies so that you figure out which club you need, and you then stand behind the ball, as I said, and you focus, okay? You image where that shot's going to go, where it's going to land, and what it looks like. And I forget to do this sometimes today. I used to never forget to set that image up and see the ball, but now I do. So I'm going to go back and start doing that. It takes a couple minutes longer to play, probably the whole hole, but anyway, it takes some time. And the idea of forget the last shot in living life fully means that we learn the power of elimination or the power of renunciation. The power of elimination or renunciation are one and the same. And Charles Fillmore said, Christ in me quickens my facility of renunciation. The activity of spirit cleanses my mind of limited and false beliefs, making room for greater understanding and newness of life. I am grateful. You see, when we use that power, one of the 12 powers in our lives, to manage the way we are thinking, then we are able to renounce that which is not in our highest good. We're able to step away from that which limits us, and instead step into the beauty of what is unlimiting. And as we do that, we start to learn that we can take away what we would call negative experiences, that we can step out of a situation and become the master of the situation rather than let the situation master us. That we can get the ego behind us rather than leading us. And we're able to do that, and we have the capacity to do that because of the fact that we are created this way and we have that power. The power of renunciation. Forget the last shot. Now the third thing is image the shot. And I mentioned that earlier, okay? Do I see the shot before I hit it, or do I hit it and then see the shot? And the idea is in life to see what's coming. And when you see what's coming, prepare yourself for it. And when you can't see what's coming, because you've prepared yourself with meditation and prayer, then what happens is you can respond to that situation and allow yourself again, not your ego, but the higher self, the I am within you, the Christ conscious in you, to be in charge. It's just a matter of preparing yourself in such a way that you're ready for that. And so if we imagine a shot, we also can see the power in life of affirmative prayer. In life, affirmative prayer is the idea that what I imagine, what I see, what I concentrate on, what I focus on in my time of prayer and meditation is the result I want to bring about, not the problem that I'm having. I got to let go of that. That's the renunciation part, elimination period. And then step into what it is I want to happen. Myrtle Fillmore spent about 8 hours a day, as I understand it, when she was sick with tuberculosis and she was told she was going to die with tuberculosis, saying, I am a child of God. I do not inherit sickness. And the reason she said that is because one of her parents and one of her siblings died of tuberculosis at an early age. And so it was predicted that she would do the same. Well, she said that, and then she also said to each cell in her body, please forgive me for not seeing the wholeness in you. Every cell in her body, she was saying, you are alive and alert. Now, this is in 1845, before the scientists said every cell in you is alive, okay? Has life, individual life within it. And that you have the power to direct that. She kind of understood that intuitively. Because of her healing, which took 6 months to get out of bed, and then after that, to about 2 years to get rid of everything, as she said, she lived in another 60 years, and then decided that it was time for her to go. So she went around to the employees at Unity Village, which was pretty well developed then, and said goodbye to them one day. She said, I'm leaving. And they said, where are you going? She said, well, I'm not real sure, but I'm leaving. Pretty honest answer. And then she went home, and 2 days later, she passed away in her sleep, and she had left. But she's still here. Her spirit is still here. The work that she's done is still here. And so Myrtle understood the power of an affirmation. Charles Fillmore took about 15 years to figure that out. After watching Myrtle, he knew something unique was happening, but he approached it from a scientific and logical process. And it is scientific, it is logical. And he brought about a lot of that into unity, of how science and religion, if you would, or theology work together. And it does. But also, some points you have to just give up and be intuitive. You have to let go of the logic, especially when it's not working for you. And when he did that, he started to heal. So we have to get that intuitive place where we are willing to be powerful with our affirmations. Then the next thing we've heard about is to be in the flow. You know, if you watch pro golfers, if you watch Tiger Woods, and he's loosened up a little bit, but they are focused and in the flow. And when they get out on the golf course and things aren't going quite right and they try to, mess around with their driver and change it a little bit just because they want to change it, then what happens is they lose control because now they're focusing on the driver, not the shot. We do that sometimes. When our driver, that which leads us, is a little out of whack, we find ourselves in situations we don't want to be in. And yet we, in some cases, put ourselves there, and in some cases we didn't. Because life happens, by the way. It just happens. So don't beat yourself down if something's happening and you go, oh, what did I do wrong? You may have not done anything wrong. You're just participating in the life experience. But what you can do is manage what you are in at that time so that your experience of life is more broadening, is unlimited, filled with unlimited possibilities. And when you do that, you then can step into the glory that you are, the wholeness that you are, the love that you are. And as you do that, you then learn to be in the flow, as they call, okay? So spirit is your guide. And what we want to do with spirit in life is what we want to do being in the flow in golf. It used to be that I could take a club like this, and I could decide whether I wanted to hit a hook, which means it goes out like this and fades, okay? An intended hook. Or if I was going to hit a slice, which means the ball is going to go out this way. And I could intentionally do that. Today, I hope I get a hook or a slice, either one. I never know what's going to happen. But you see, you can, when you control your thoughts and you put them down into your body, you then can control literally how things show up. And you do that in life. And in life, sometimes we intentionally hit a hook because we want to go to the left. We want to go around something that's maybe an obstacle or a block for us. We intentionally hit a slice because we want to go over to the right of a situation and get aligned in our rightness and then deal with the situation. Through the power of affirmations, through the power of renunciation, through the power of denials, as we call it also. And so we have to be in alignment with spirit. That is so important. And then the fifth thing is that we have to be prepared. You know, to play golf and be prepared, you have to practice. To really get good, you really have to practice. And the nice thing, or the unique thing, is you don't get good at golf and then walk away from it for 10 years and come back and play the same game. It doesn't work that way. Because you stop practicing. You stop thinking the same way. Your body changes. At least mine did. And so when I come back to play it, I'm playing a different game, literally. And I have to think that way. So I have to practice if I want to prepare myself to play better. In life, we also have to practice. We have to practice being in spirit. We have to practice time of meditation, a time of prayer. We have to practice seeing ourselves as we truly are, and then making any corrections that we need to make. Some people come into unity and they say, what is the greatest thing since sliced bread? And about 2 years later, they've been fixed. They got it all done, and they walk away. I'm done. It's done. And then 2 years later, we see them back. Because you see, if you take away with the practice and the preparation, then you lose touch with yourself. You lose touch with spirit. In golf, if I stop practicing, I lose touch with what my ability is when I stand before the ball, and the confidence I have of hitting the ball. And in life, if I'm not preparing myself, doing the things that are necessary, I lose confidence in who I am, and I begin to think that I am a human being having a human experience, not a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. And so, as we move through life, we have to understand this concept and this idea of practice makes perfect, supposedly. Now, what that really means is to be in the Christ consciousness. A few years ago, a friend of mine, Scotty, we called him. His name was James Scott. He passed away this past April, and he was about 66 years old. And Scotty spoke here, and he was a comedian. He was a great guy. But what he talked about that Sunday, I remember, was the difference between worshiping Jesus and following Jesus. The difference between worshiping Jesus as something above you and following Jesus as someone that could lead and guide you to be like Jesus. That's what Jesus was always talking about. You can do this and even greater things. Boy, can you imagine sitting at Jesus' feet and he says to you, you can do this and greater things, and you're sitting there going, are you kidding me? You know? But that's what he was saying. And we're doing it. We really are. Look at the ways we communicate today. Totally different. Jesus had a crowd. Some say of 5,000. That was it. It didn't get beamed out throughout the whole world. So he worked with what he had. Today, you and I can share a message of hope to the world because we have that opportunity to talk with the whole world at any point. Isn't that great? Isn't that cool? You know, in our live streaming right now, the statistic I saw last week, I'm not sure if I remember it last week or week before, was that we had about 186 people who watched the whole service, and we had about 300 people who watched part of the service, more than 10 minutes. That means they were listening to the singers. And I understand that. But anyway, but that's good news. So we are some kind of way touching others, we don't even know who they are right now, touching others in a unique way because of our ability to communicate. I can't even imagine what it would have been like if Jesus had had that ability to communicate as we do today. He might have changed the world, literally, much quicker. And I don't mean change it and fix it. I mean change it so it's working properly. Change it in consciousness. Changing it with love. So when we look at this game of life and we look at the game of golf, let's just remember these key ideas. Number one, remember to focus and manage your thoughts. Number two, forget the last shot. Forget the last thing you went through and wipe it from your mind, if at all possible, and certainly get it out of your emotional state. And then you're ready for the next shot. So then you can imagine the shot differently and see it differently because you have the power of affirmative prayer. You have the power of saying, this is what I want, this is what I see. And then when you dream about it, Ogmandino says you have to put a deadline on it for it to come true. You can then start to set yourself in motion by developing an idea and putting yourself in that idea and then seeing it come through. And you have to be in the flow. You have to allow Spirit to guide you and direct you. And that can be constant meditation. That can be constant prayer, literally, for us. That we are always praying. Always praying. And when we do that, we are able to prepare ourselves for life. And then we are practicing what we need to practice in order to be the Christ consciousness. Not a Christ consciousness, not Jesus' consciousness, but the Christ consciousness that is within each of you. And we do that. If you're a golfer and you do the things we're talking about, you'll play better golf. If you are a seeker of truth, if you're looking for more direction in your life, if you're looking for more satisfaction, you're looking for more peace and more joy, then you do the things we talked about in creating a life that works for all. It will work, I guarantee you, because it's worked in my life. Thank you.